The stars outside Luna Base looked peaceful that morning, but Admiral Jack Morrison knew that was about to change. He sat in his office, drinking his third cup of coffee, when the priority message arrived. The red light on his desk blinked 3 times, which meant only one thing. The aliens were calling. Morrison opened the transmission and saw the familiar face of Ambassador Jar, the Galactic Empire Senate's representative to Earth. The alien's 4 eyes blinked slowly, and his translator device made his words sound cold and mechanical. Admiral Morrison, the Senate has reached a decision regarding humanity's place in the galaxy, Jar said. You have proven to be too aggressive and dangerous. Your species threatens the peace we have maintained for 3,000 years. Morrison kept his face blank, but inside he felt his heart racing. He had known this day would come. The Empire had been watching Earth for decades, ever since humans first left their solar system and started building colonies on distant worlds. The Senate hereby demands that humanity surrender all military vessels, weapons systems, and defensive installations within 30 standard galactic days. Jar continued. You will disarm completely and place yourselves under Empire protection. This is not a request. This is an order. The transmission ended, leaving Morrison staring at the blank screen. He picked up his secure phone and called Dr. Lisa Carter, Earth's top expert on alien cultures. She arrived at his office within minutes, her face pale with worry. They actually did it, she said, sitting down across from his desk. I hoped they would leave us alone for a few more years. What do you know about the other species that got this same demand? Morrison asked. Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed him the files. 3 species in the last century. The Corvan Empire, the Stellar Federation, and the Helix Coalition. All of them were told to disarm. All of them obeyed. And now they are all client states of the Empire. They have no military, no independence, and no say in galactic affairs. The Empire controls their trade, their colonies, and their future. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked beautiful from Luna Base, blue and green and full of life. He thought about the billions of people down there who had no idea their freedom was under threat. Get me Commander Paul Jackson, he said, and call President Helen Brooks. Tell her we need an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. Lisa nodded. What are you thinking, Jack? I'm thinking the Senate made a big mistake, Morrison said. They think we're just another species that will roll over and play dead. They don't know us very well. An hour later, Commander Jackson arrived. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who ran Earth's intelligence operations. He had been tracking alien movements for years and knew more about the Empire than almost anyone. The Senate thinks we're primitive, Jackson said, settling into a chair. Their intelligence reports describe us as violent but backward. They see our chemical rockets and think that's the best we can do. Morrison smiled for the first time that day. And what does our intelligence say about them? They haven't changed their technology in thousands of years. Same energy shields, same particle weapons, same slow ships. They're powerful because they're old and big, not because they're smart. Dr. Carter looked between the 2 men. Are you saying we're going to fight them? The Empire has millions of ships and controls half the galaxy. I'm saying we have options they don't know about, Morrison replied. The Senate is about to learn something important about humanity. We don't give up easily. The alarm on Morrison's desk chimed. It was time for the emergency meeting with President Brooks and the Earth Defense Council. The next 30 days would determine whether humanity remained free or became just another servant species in the Empire's collection. Morrison straightened his uniform and headed for the door. The aliens wanted to disarm humanity, but they were about to discover that Earth had been preparing for this moment longer than they knew. The Senate thought they were dealing with primitives. They were very, very wrong. 3 million light-years away on the crystal moon of Sirian Prime, the Galactic Empire Senate was in session. The Great Dome housed representatives from 12 ancient species, each older and supposedly wiser than humanity. Senator Vexthul of the Zephyrian Collective stood at the center podium, his blue skin gleaming under the artificial lights. The human problem must be solved quickly, Vexthul announced to the assembly. They expand too fast and fight too much. In just 200 years, they have spread to 47 star systems. No other species has done this so rapidly. Senator Kareth of the Crystal Dominion nodded her massive head. Her species had ruled the galaxy for over 5,000 years, and she had seen many young races rise and fall. Humans are violent by nature. They wage war on their own kind, and now threaten us. We cannot allow this to continue. But are they truly a threat? Asked Senator Morlk of the Gas Giant Federation. His tentacles swayed as he spoke through his breathing apparatus. Their technology is primitive. Chemical rockets, metal ships, simple energy weapons. We had better technology when we were still crawling out of our birth pools. The Senate chamber filled with what sounded like laughter, though each species made different sounds. The Zephyrians clicked their mandibles, the crystal beings hummed in deep tones, and the Gas Federation delegates released small puffs of colored gas. Exactly, Vexthul said. They use crude chemical propulsion when we mastered faster-than-light travel millennia ago. Their ships are made of steel and titanium, while ours use crystallized energy matrices. They still rely on kinetic weapons and basic lasers. Senator Kareth accessed her memory banks, a gift of her long-lived species. I remember when the Corvan Empire resisted us, 300 years ago. They had plasma cannons and quantum shields, far more advanced than these humans, yet they surrendered when we showed them our true power. The Stellar Federation lasted only 6 months, added another senator. The Helix Coalition even less. These humans will do the same. On the other side of the chamber, Senator Yithera of the Void Walkers remained silent. Her species was mysterious and rarely spoke, but when they did, others listened. She had been observing Earth longer than the others knew. The humans have something the others did not, she finally said, her voice like whispers in space. What could that be? Vexthul asked, annoyed at the interruption. Deception, Yithera replied, then said nothing more. The Senate ignored her warning. They were too confident in their superiority to consider that a young species might outsmart them. Meanwhile, in Earth's solar system, the alien surveillance net had been active for decades. Hidden probes watched human military exercises, recorded their technology, and sent reports back to the Empire. What they saw matched their expectations perfectly. Slow ships using chemical rockets, primitive weapons that fired solid projectiles, military bases that seemed barely able to defend their own planets. The probes never detected the quantum communication networks that Earth had been building. They never noticed that human mining ships in the asteroid belt carried unusual power signatures. They never realized that what they thought were civilian research stations were actually weapons testing facilities. The Empire's intelligence was based on what they wanted to see, not what was really there. They expected humans to be primitive, so they interpreted everything through that lens. When human ships moved slowly, they assumed it was because the ships were slow. When Earth's military bases seemed weak, they believed they were weak. Back in the Senate chamber, Vexthul called for a vote. All in favor of giving the humans 30 days to surrender their weapons. Every senator except Yithera raised their hands, tentacles, or crystalline formations. The vote was nearly unanimous. The message has been sent, Vexthul announced. Soon, we will have another peaceful member in our empire. The humans will learn that resistance is futile, just as the others did. As the session ended, Senator Yithera floated toward the exit. Her species had survived by being careful and watching for threats others missed. She had seen something in human behavior that worried her, but the other senators were too arrogant to listen. The Empire was about to discover that confidence could be a weakness, and that the loudest threats sometimes came from the quietest enemies. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially did not exist, Dr. Richard Davis stood before a wall of quantum computers. The Earth Defense Council had assembled in the most secure room on the planet, 3 miles underground and shielded from every form of scanning known to science. Admiral Morrison looked around the table at the most powerful people on Earth. General Steve Williams commanded the Space Marines. Admiral Susan Clark led the Space Navy. And Dr. Davis, the quiet man with thick glasses, controlled humanity's greatest secret. "Gentlemen, lady," Dr. Davis said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "For 50 years, we have been preparing for this day. Operation Prometheus has given us capabilities the Empire cannot imagine." President Helen Brooks leaned forward. "Show us what we really have, Richard." Dr. Davis touched his tablet, and the room's holographic display came to life. Three-dimensional images of ships, weapons, and technology filled the air above the table. These were not the crude vessels the aliens had observed. "First, our ships," Dr. Davis said. The display showed sleek vessels that looked nothing like the chemical-powered rockets the Empire had been watching. Every human ship has 2 propulsion systems, the chemical rockets the aliens see, and quantum drives they do not. We can reach 90% of light speed in minutes. General Williams whistled softly. "How did we hide this from their scanners?" "Quantum shielding," Dr. Davis replied. "The drives only activate when we open quantum tunnels around them. To alien sensors, our ships disappear and reappear. They think we use crude jump drives like they do." Admiral Clark studied the ship designs. "What about weapons?" "That is where things get interesting." The display changed to show massive cannons that seemed to bend space around them, compressed matter weapons that fire miniature black holes, temporal distortion beams that slow time around targets, and my personal favorite, molecular disassembly rays. Dr. Davis smiled, which was rare for him. "But our greatest advantage is artificial intelligence. We created thinking machines 50 years ago. The Empire banned AI development 3,000 years ago after a machine uprising. They fear it, which means they never develop defenses against it." The display showed Captain Maria Rodriguez standing next to what looked like a simple asteroid mining ship. "Captain Rodriguez commands our mobile weapons platform disguised as the mining vessel New Frontier. The aliens count it as a civilian ship. In reality, it carries enough firepower to destroy a battlecruiser." "How many of these hidden weapons do we have?" President Brooks asked. "Every mining ship, research station, and cargo vessel built in the last 30 years has been equipped with military-grade systems," Dr. Davis said. "The Empire thinks we have 200 warships. We actually have over 3,000 combat vessels." Dr. Alan White, the project's lead physicist, stood up. "We need to explain the temporal technology. This will confuse their tactical computers completely." "Time manipulation?" Morrison asked. "You actually built time machines?" "Not exactly," Dr. White replied. "We cannot travel through time, but we can speed it up or slow it down in small areas. Our ships can create time bubbles where everything moves twice as fast or half as slow. Imagine fighting an enemy that suddenly moves at double speed while your weapons crawl toward them." General Williams grinned. "The alien shields work by deflecting energy. What happens when we fire weapons that bypass shields completely?" "They have no defense," Dr. Davis said simply. "Their energy barriers cannot stop compressed matter or molecular disassembly beams. Their ships will simply come apart." Admiral Clark looked at the holographic fleet surrounding them. "The Empire thinks they are dealing with primitives using chemical rockets and metal bullets. Instead, they face quantum-powered ships with reality-bending weapons and AI coordination." "There is more," Dr. Davis said. He showed them images of their hidden bases throughout the solar system. Mining operations on Europa, research stations on Titan, and terraforming projects on Mars. All of them are actually military installations with planetary defense systems. President Brooks stood up, her face serious but determined. "So when they come for us, thinking we are defenseless primitives, what will they find?" Dr. Davis removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly. "They will find that humanity has been preparing for war while pretending to be peaceful. They will discover that our greatest weapons are invisible to their sensors. And most importantly, they will learn that humans are very good at lying. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the truth. Earth was not the primitive world the Empire believed it to be. They had spent 50 years building the most advanced military in galactic history, all while appearing weak and backward. The Empire wanted to disarm humanity, but they had no idea what they were trying to disarm. That ignorance would soon become their greatest weakness. Senator Vexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Glory, watching the blue-green planet called Earth grow larger on the main screen. Behind him stretched the pride of the Galactic Empire fleet. 500 warships, each one a kilometer long and armed with the finest weapons the Empire had built over 3,000 years. The humans should have surrendered by now, Vexthal said to his second-in-command, Captain Corvin. 30 days have passed, and they send no reply. Captain Corvin checked his instruments. Sir, we are detecting movement around their outer colonies. Ships leaving the system, taking civilians away. They appear to be evacuating. Good, Vexthal nodded. They understand they cannot fight us. Soon, they will surrender their military and accept our protection. On Earth's Luna base, Commander Nick Brown watched the alien fleet through the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. The ships moved in perfect formation, their energy shields glowing like small suns. These were the vessels that had conquered dozens of star systems and forced entire civilizations to kneel. 500 ships, Brown reported to Admiral Morrison. Standard Empire formation. They are broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding to speak with our leaders. Morrison stood at the command center, calm and ready. Around him, officers monitored screens showing not just the approaching fleet, but the hidden defenses spread throughout the solar system. The aliens could see Earth's orbital platforms, but they looked old and weak. The Empire's sensors showed exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Any word from our outer colonies? Morrison asked. The evacuation is complete, Brown replied. All civilian populations have been moved to safe zones. Our hidden military bases remain operational. Dr. Lisa Carter joined them at the command station. Our xenobiology team has been studying their ship designs from the sensor data. They use the same technology they have used for millennia. Energy shields, particle beam weapons, plasma cannons. Nothing has changed. Why change perfection? Morrison said with a slight smile. That is what the Empire believes. They think their old ways are the best ways. On the flagship, Vexthal grew impatient. Open a channel to Earth, he ordered. Let us end this farce. The communication screen lit up, showing Admiral Morrison in his Earth defense uniform. Vexthal had expected to see fear in the human's eyes, but Morrison looked calm, almost bored. I am Senator Vexthal of the Galactic Empire, the alien announced. You have failed to respond to our generous offer of protection. Surrender your weapons now, and no harm will come to your people. Morrison looked directly at the alien. Senator, we received your message. Earth's government has discussed your demands carefully. And we decline. The bridge of the Eternal Glory fell silent. Captain Corvin checked his translation equipment, thinking he had heard wrong. Vexthal's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. You decline. Vexthal repeated. Do you understand who you are speaking to? We have conquered worlds older than your entire civilization. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. I understand perfectly, Morrison replied. We choose to remain free. Back on Luna base, Commander Brown smiled as he watched the alien fleet's reaction. Their ships had stopped moving, as if the crews could not believe what they had heard. Sir, Brown said quietly, the aliens are powering up their weapons. All ships are raising shields and targeting our orbital platforms. Morrison nodded. Let them. They see old, weak platforms that cannot threaten them. They have no idea what those platforms really are. Dr. Carter looked worried. Jack, are you sure about this? Once we show them what we can do, there is no going back. There was never any going back, Morrison replied. The Empire does not allow independence. They only understand strength. On the Eternal Glory, Vexthul stared at the communication screen where Morrison still waited calmly. Very well, human. You have chosen destruction over wisdom. Prepare to learn why the Empire has ruled for 3,000 years. Morrison almost looked sad. Senator, you are about to learn something about humanity. We are not like the other species you have conquered. We do not surrender, and we do not kneel. The transmission ended, leaving Vexthul staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders. Begin the attack, Vexthul commanded. Target their orbital platforms first. Show them the power of the Empire. What the senator did not know was that he had just triggered the greatest surprise in galactic military history. Earth's response would change everything the Empire believed about warfare, technology, and the supposedly primitive species called humanity. The first shots came from the Eternal Glory itself. Bright blue beams of concentrated energy lanced out toward Earth's orbital platforms. Vexthul watched with satisfaction as the particle cannons fired, expecting to see the primitive human defenses crumble like paper. Instead, something impossible happened. The orbital platforms, which had looked old and rusty through Empire sensors, suddenly shimmered and changed. Space itself seemed to bend around them as they revealed their true nature. These were not the ancient missile platforms the Empire had expected. They were something far beyond anything in galactic history. Quantum displacement cannons charging, announced Admiral Morrison calmly from Luna Base. Target the flagship first. The platforms fired, but their weapons did not shoot beams of light or energy. Instead, they tore holes in space itself. Localized black holes, no bigger than marbles, appeared directly inside the Empire ships. The Eternal Glory shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not stop gravity itself. Vexthul felt his ship shudder as micro-black holes materialized inside the hull. The gravity wells lasted only seconds before collapsing, but that was enough. They pulled sections of the ship apart from the inside out. Shields are useless, Captain Corvin shouted over the alarms. How are they getting past our defenses? Impossible, Vexthul muttered, watching 50 of his ships torn apart in the first volley. Our intelligence said they had primitive weapons, chemical explosives and metal projectiles. From the asteroid belt, more surprises emerged. What the Empire had cataloged as simple mining ships suddenly revealed their true purpose. The New Frontier, commanded by Captain John Baker, dropped its disguise as its quantum drives came online. The bulky mining vessel transformed into a sleek predator, moving faster than any ship in the Empire fleet. This is Baker to all hidden units, the captain announced over quantum communications the aliens could not detect. Execute surprise party protocol. Time to show these ancients how humans really fight. Throughout the solar system, dozens of disguised ships powered up weapons the Empire had never seen. Temporal distortion generators created time bubbles around groups of enemy vessels, slowing them down until their movements became painfully slow. Molecular disassembly beams touched Empire ships and simply made them cease to exist, breaking their hulls down atom by atom. Admiral Susan Clark emerged from her hiding place behind Jupiter's moon Europa. Her ship, the U.S. Independence, had been disguised as a research station for decades. Now it revealed weapons that bent the laws of physics. Temporal warfare systems online, Clark reported, creating localized time acceleration around our fleet. Suddenly, human ships appeared to teleport across the battlefield. They were not actually teleporting, but moving so fast within their time bubbles that Empire sensors could not track them. To Vexthul's fleet, it looked like magic. Sir, we have lost over 100 ships, Corvan reported, his voice shaking. The humans are not using any technology we recognize. Vexthul stared at the tactical display in growing horror. His mighty fleet was being dismantled by an enemy he had dismissed as primitive. The humans were not using energy weapons or missiles. They were using forces that bypassed every defense the Empire had built. Send a transmission, Vexthul ordered desperately. Tell all ships to retreat to safe distance and reassess. But it was too late for retreat. Captain Baker's strike force had surrounded the alien fleet using quantum drives that allowed impossible maneuvers. Ships that should take hours to change direction spun around instantly, defying physics as the Empire understood it. Dr. Alan White's temporal technology proved devastating. Empire ships found themselves trapped in slow time fields, unable to escape or fight back effectively. Their weapons crawled through space while human ships danced around them at normal speed. Fleet Command, "This is impossible," came frantic messages from dozens of Empire captains. "The humans are everywhere at once. Our shields cannot stop their weapons." Admiral Morrison watched the battle unfold from Luna Base, feeling no joy in the destruction but knowing it was necessary. For too long, the Empire had bullied younger species into submission. Today, they would learn that some species fight back. "Admiral Clark, begin Phase 2 of the operation," Morrison ordered. Phase 2. Captain Baker asked over the communication channel. "Sir, we have already won." Morrison smiled grimly. "Not yet, John. We need to make sure they never underestimate humanity again. Time to show them what humans do to bullies." The battle was just beginning, and the Empire's worst nightmare was about to become reality. They had awakened a sleeping giant that had been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Senator Vexthal grabbed his communication console as his flagship shook again. More micro-black holes had appeared inside his ship, pulling apart entire sections in seconds. Around him, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to understand how their perfect formation had turned into a disaster. "All ships, emergency frequency," Vexthal broadcast to his fleet. "We need reinforcements immediately. Send word to the Senate. The humans have weapons we have never seen before." His message was cut short as another shockwave rocked the Eternal Glory. Through the ship's hull came something that horrified every alien aboard. Tiny silver clouds, like metallic dust, seeped through the walls as if they were not even there. Major Sarah Johnson smiled from her position aboard the human stealth ship Wraith. She had been waiting 40 years to use these weapons. The nanoswarms were her creation, millions of microscopic robots that could work together like a living thing. "Nanoswarms deployed against the flagship," Johnson reported to Admiral Morrison, "beginning molecular disassembly of target vessel." The silver clouds spread throughout the Eternal Glory, and wherever they went, the ship simply ceased to exist. Walls dissolved into their basic atoms. Control panels turned to dust. The nanorobots worked faster than any weapon the Empire had ever faced, taking apart the ship piece by piece. Vexthal watched in terror as his bridge began to disappear around him. "What is this? Some kind of acid weapon?" "Sir, our science officer says it appears to be some form of programmable matter," Captain Corvin replied, his voice breaking. "The humans are using technology our scientists said was impossible." Dr. Alan White activated the next phase of Earth's response from his secret lab on Mars. The temporal warfare protocol engaged across the battlefield, creating zones where time moved at different speeds. Empire ships found themselves trapped in slow time fields, their movements reduced to a crawl. One moment, an alien destroyer was firing its plasma cannons at a human vessel. The next moment, it was frozen in space, its weapons charging so slowly that the energy crawled forward like thick honey. Meanwhile, the human ship zipped around it at normal speed, placing explosives on its hull with casual precision. "Time distortion fields holding steady," Dr. White reported. "Enemy fleet is operating at 20% normal speed in affected zones." Captain John Baker, commanding the disguised mining ship New Frontier, laughed as he watched Empire vessels struggle against forces they could not understand. His ship's quantum drive allowed it to appear in multiple places almost simultaneously, confusing enemy targeting systems. "This is too easy," Baker told his crew. "Their weapons are designed to fight ships, not to fight space itself." The Empire fleet tried to adapt, but how do you fight an enemy that controls time and gravity? Their energy shields, perfected over thousands of years, were useless against weapons that bypassed conventional physics entirely. On the eternal glory, Senator Vexthal realized his mistake too late. The humans had not built better ships or bigger weapons. They had rewritten the rules of warfare itself. Every assumption the Empire had made about combat was wrong. Fleet status report, Vexthal demanded. We have lost 200 ships in 15 minutes, Corvan replied. Our remaining vessels are trapped in temporal fields or being destroyed by those mechanical swarms. Sir, we need to retreat. The Senate will never forgive us if we retreat from primitives, Vexthal said. Sir, with respect, these are not primitives. Senator Kareth, watching from her command ship Crystal Dominion, tried to understand what she was seeing. Her species had lived for millions of years and had seen every type of warfare imaginable. But this was something entirely new. How did they hide this from us? She wondered aloud. Our spies watched them for decades. We saw their technology, studied their ships. Her science advisor, a being that looked like living crystal, provided the answer that chilled her to the core. Senator, I believe they wanted us to see primitive technology. Everything we observed was deliberate misdirection. You mean they have been planning this for decades? I mean they have been preparing for war while pretending to be peaceful. We fell for the oldest trick in warfare. We saw what we expected to see and ignored what was really there. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from Luna Base, feeling no satisfaction in the Empire's suffering. Each destroyed ship meant thousands of alien lives lost. But the Empire had forced this choice by demanding humanity's surrender. Begin Phase 3, Morrison ordered quietly. It is time to show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Admiral Morrison stood before the quantum communication array on Luna Base, his finger hovering over the activation switch. Around the galaxy, hidden human forces waited for his signal. For 50 years, Earth had been preparing not just to defend their own system, but to strike back at the Empire itself. Phase 3 begins now, Morrison announced. Across 12 different star systems, human fleets emerged from hiding. Each strike force had been positioned near major Empire military bases months ago, disguised as trade ships, research vessels, and refugee convoys. The Empire's own arrogance had allowed them to get close without suspicion. Admiral Susan Clark commanded the attack on Xerion Prime, the Empire's capital system. Her fleet of 30 ships had been hiding in the asteroid field for 6 months, appearing to be simple mining operations. Now they revealed their true nature as mankind's most advanced warships. Operation Payback is go, Clark announced to her captains. Remember, we target military installations only. No civilian casualties. The Empire's main fleet base orbited Xerion Prime like a small moon. It held over 1,000 ships and was protected by energy shields that could stop an entire fleet. The base had never been attacked in 3,000 years of Empire rule. Clark's ships moved with precision that shocked the alien defenders. Using quantum drives, they appeared to teleport around the massive station, placing charges at key structural points. The Empire's defense fleet scrambled to respond, but their ships moved like children compared to humanity's vessels. General Steve Williams led the ground assault team that would change galactic history forever. Using transport technology the Empire had never seen, his soldiers appeared directly inside enemy ships and bases. The aliens had no defense against troops that could walk through walls using portable quantum tunnels. Team 1 to command, Williams reported. We have captured the Empire's main communication center on Vega Station. Their entire command network is now under our control. In the Zeta Reticuli system, Colonel Mike Turner executed the most daring part of the operation. His Special Forces team had infiltrated Senator Vexthal's personal fortress, a space station that was supposed to be impregnable. Using cloaking technology far beyond anything the Empire possessed, they moved like ghosts through the alien facility. Target acquired. Turner whispered into his communicator. We have visual on Senator Vexthal's personal quarters. Senator Vexthal had returned to his fortress to coordinate the Empire's response to the human uprising. He sat in his private chamber, surrounded by guards, believing himself safe behind the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. He was wrong. Turner's team appeared in the center of the room as if materializing from thin air. The alien guards raised their weapons, but found themselves unable to move. Human sonic weapons had temporarily paralyzed their nervous systems. "Senator Vexthol," Turner said calmly, removing his helmet. "You are now a prisoner of the Earth Defense Forces." The senator's 4 eyes went wide with terror and disbelief. "How did you get here?" "This station has shields that stop even light from passing through." "Your shields stop energy weapons and ships," Turner replied. "They do not stop quantum transport. We have been inside your fortress for 3 weeks, learning your routines and studying your defenses." Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes played out as human forces captured Empire leaders who had thought themselves untouchable. The species that ruled the galaxy for millennia found themselves outmaneuvered by the supposedly primitive humans. Back in Earth's solar system, the remains of the Empire's fleet tried desperately to regroup, but their communication systems had been compromised. Human AI had infiltrated their networks, turning their own technology against them. Empire ships received false orders, sending them into traps or causing them to fire on each other. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical displays showing human victories across 12 star systems. The Empire's military might, built over thousands of years, was crumbling in hours. Their greatest weakness had been their belief in their own superiority. "Sir," Commander Nick Brown reported, "we are receiving surrender requests from over 50 Empire facilities. Their defense networks are collapsing galaxy-wide." Morrison nodded gravely. "Tell them we will accept surrenders, but only from military commanders. Any Empire ship that continues to fight will be destroyed." Senator Kareth, trapped aboard her disabled flagship, sent a desperate message to the remaining Senate members. "Emergency session required immediately. The humans have capabilities beyond our understanding. They have turned the tables completely." The Crystal Dominion and 10 other Empire species had never experienced defeat. For 3,000 years, they had been the predators in a galaxy full of prey. Now they found themselves being hunted by a species they had dismissed as weak and primitive. The Empire's greatest mistake had been believing their own propaganda about human inferiority. They had never imagined that humanity's peaceful facade hid the most advanced military technology in galactic history. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Empire Senate met in emergency session for the first time in 1,000 years. The Great Dome on Sirian Prime, once a symbol of unbreakable power, now seemed small and fragile. Only 6 of the 12 senators remained free, the others captured or cut off by human forces. Senator Kareth sat at the circular table, her crystalline form dim with defeat. Around her, the surviving members of the Empire's ruling council stared at reports they could barely believe. In less than 24 hours, humanity had crippled military forces that had taken millennia to build. How? Senator Morrill cast, his voice a whisper through his breathing apparatus. How did they deceive us so completely? Councillor Jar, the Empire's diplomatic representative who had delivered the ultimatum to Earth, stood at the center of the chamber. His hand shook as he read from his tablet. "Our intelligence network has completely failed. Every report about human technology was wrong. They have quantum drives, artificial intelligence, weapons that manipulate time and space. Senator Ythera warned us," Kareth said quietly. "She said the humans were deceptive. We did not listen." The chamber fell silent. Ythera had been captured in the first wave of human attacks, her presence in the discussion reduced to an empty chair that reminded everyone of their arrogance. President Helen Brooks appeared on the communication screen, flanked by Admiral Morrison and Dr. Lisa Carter. The 3 humans looked calm, professional, and completely in control. Behind them stood Colonel Mike Turner, who had personally captured Senator Vexthol. "Honorable members of the Galactic Empire Senate," President Brooks began, her voice carrying across light years to reach the alien leaders. "You demanded that humanity surrender our weapons. Instead, we have demonstrated what those weapons can do. Senator Kareth leaned forward, her ancient mind struggling to process the reality of their situation. President Brooks, your species has committed acts of war against the Empire. Do you understand the consequences? Brooks smiled sadly. Senator, with respect, you attacked us first. You sent a fleet to force our surrender. We simply defended ourselves more effectively than you expected. We never meant to destroy your people, Admiral Morrison added. Every human action was designed to disable your forces, not slaughter them. We could have wiped out your fleets completely. Dr. Carter stepped forward. We studied your history, learned from the species you conquered, the Corvan Empire, the Stellar Federation, the Helix Coalition. All of them tried to fight with weapons you understood. We chose a different path. Counselor Gere found his voice, though it trembled. What do you want from us? Recognition, President Brooks said simply. Acknowledgement that humanity has the right to exist as a free and independent species. We want the kind of peace that comes from mutual respect, not the peace of conquered subjects. The Senate chamber erupted in alien discussions. Some senators argued for continued resistance, others for immediate surrender. But the tactical displays around them told the truth. Human forces controlled key Empire installations. Their fleets were scattered or destroyed, and their greatest military leaders were prisoners. Senator Kareth called for silence. The Senate formally withdraws our ultimatum to humanity, she announced. We request a treaty of peace and recognition of your sovereignty. President Brooks nodded. We accept, but there will be conditions. The Empire will release all conquered species and allow them to choose their own governments. No more forced disarmament of developing civilizations. And most importantly, no retaliation against the species who tried to resist you in the past. Admiral Morrison stepped forward. We know this is difficult for you to accept. You have ruled for 3,000 years without challenge. But times change, and so must the Empire. How did you hide this from us for so long? Kareth asked, genuinely curious despite her defeat. Dr. Carter smiled. We learned something important early in our development. Sometimes the best defense is to appear weak while preparing for strength. You saw what you expected to see because we showed you exactly what you wanted to believe. President Brooks prepared to end the transmission. We hope this can be the beginning of a new era in galactic relations, one based on equality rather than domination. The screen went dark, leaving the Senate in stunned silence. For the first time in their history, they had been not just defeated, but outsmarted completely. Senator Kareth looked around the nearly empty chamber. The age of the Empire is over, she said quietly. Humanity has changed everything. Outside the dome, human ships maintained their blockade, a quiet reminder that the galaxy now had a new power to consider. Earth had not just survived the Empire's ultimatum. They had rewritten the rules of galactic civilization itself. The Senate, for perhaps the first time in their history, was truly speechless. Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Pioneer. Her crew worked quietly at their stations. The space around them seemed empty. Then everything changed. A huge ship appeared from nowhere. It was bigger than any human ship. The metal looked smooth like glass. Strange lights moved across its surface. Captain, we're getting a message, said her communications officer. Put it on speakers, Lisa ordered. A deep voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, this is Ambassador Zyloth of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had waited for. First contact with alien life. This is Captain Martinez of Earthship Pioneer. We welcome you. The alien ship sent over a small craft. Lisa met the visitors in the docking bay. 3 beings stepped out. They were tall and thin. Their bodies looked like they were made of crystal. Light bent strangely around them. I am Zyloth, said the tallest one. A device on his chest translated his words. The Galactic Council has watched your species. You are ready to join us. Lisa led them to the meeting room. Earth's leaders were waiting on video screens. The Council governs 12 ancient species, Xyloff explained. We maintain peace across the galaxy. We share technology. We protect younger races. The crystal being showed them images. Massive space stations floated between stars. Ships traveled faster than light. Alien cities covered entire moons. "What does the Council want from us?" asked President Martinez from the screen. "Nothing," Xyloff said. "We offer partnership. Your species shows promise. Accept our invitation, and Earth will prosper." Over the next weeks, more Council ships arrived. Lisa worked with Ambassador Jack Sullivan to understand the terms. The Council offered many things. They would protect Earth from hostile aliens. They would share medical technology to cure diseases. They would help humans colonize other worlds. "This seems too good to be true," Jack told Lisa one evening. They stood in the Pioneer's observation deck, watching the alien fleet. "Maybe," Lisa said, "but what choice do we have? They're centuries ahead of us." The Council representatives were patient. They answered every question. They showed humans their peaceful history. They introduced Earth to other member species. A month later, world leaders voted. Earth would join the Galactic Council as a provisional member. The ceremony happened on the Pioneer. Xyloff stood before a glowing sphere. "Earth, do you accept the Council's protection and guidance?" "We do," President Martinez answered. The sphere pulsed with light. Cheers erupted on the bridge. Humanity had joined the galactic community. "Your world will change," Xyloff told Lisa after the ceremony. "Disease will end. Energy will be clean. Your people will travel to the stars." Lisa smiled. It felt like a dream. "When do we start?" "Tomorrow," the alien said. Council ships will arrive at Earth. They bring gifts: medical scanners, energy converters, teaching machines. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She stood at her cabin window, staring at the stars. Everything was different now. Earth wasn't alone anymore. The first Council transport ships reached Earth a week later. They landed in major cities. Aliens emerged carrying strange devices. Humans gathered to watch and wonder. In New York, a Council healer cured a child's cancer with a single touch. In London, engineers installed a power plant that could light the entire city using only water. In Tokyo, teachers began showing humans how to build spaceships. Jack Sullivan wrote in his report, "The Council keeps every promise. Our sick are healed. Our cities are transforming. They ask for nothing in return." President Martinez addressed the world. "A new age has begun. Our friends from the stars have come to help us. Together, we will build a better future." Lisa Martinez became Earth's first space admiral. She worked with Council advisors to design Earth's new fleet. Humans learned quickly. Within months, the first Earth-built interstellar ship was ready. The Galactic Council had given Earth everything: protection, technology, a future among the stars. Nobody suspected what would come next. 5 years had passed since first contact. Earth looked different now. The sky over New York was crystal clear. No pollution darkened the air. Tall buildings ran on clean energy from Council technology. Flying cars moved between the towers. Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked in the new medical center. She held a small device that could scan a person's whole body in seconds. The Council had taught her how to use it. "Another life saved," she said, healing a patient's heart disease. The man stood up, healthy again. He thanked her and left. Amy loved her work. Before the Council came, this man would have needed dangerous surgery. Now she could fix him in minutes. In orbit above Earth, Commander Paul Fisher watched his fleet grow. 20 new ships floated in the shipyard. Each one used Council designs, but had human improvements. "The new engines are ready for testing," his engineer reported. Paul smiled. Humans were good at making things better. The Council noticed this too. They often asked for human input on their projects. Down on Earth, trade was booming. Ambassador Karen Wright organized meetings between humans and aliens. The council species loved Earth's products. They couldn't get enough human music, food, and art. "Your people are creative," said Vronek, a trader from the Altair system. He had just bought 1,000 music recordings. "We have technology, but you have soul." Karen was proud. Humans were becoming famous across the galaxy. Council members visited Earth just to experience human culture. The colonies on Mars and Europa were growing fast. Council shields protected them from radiation. Their machines made air and water from local materials. Thousands of families now lived off Earth. Lisa Martinez, promoted to admiral, visited the Europa colony. She walked through the domed city under Jupiter's giant face. "How's life out here?" she asked a colonist. "Perfect," the woman replied. "The kids go to school with alien children. Everyone has work. The council provides everything we need." Earth's influence was spreading. At council meetings, human representatives suggested new ideas. The older species listened with interest. They called humans the bridge builders because Earth helped different species understand each other. Dr. Rodriguez made a breakthrough in combining human and council medical knowledge. Her technique could repair genetic damage that even council science couldn't fix. "Impressive," said Dr. Zix, a council medical expert. "Your approach is unique. We must study this together." The partnership seemed perfect. Humans learned from ancient wisdom. Aliens benefited from human creativity. Both sides gained. Paul Fisher's fleet conducted joint exercises with council forces. Human pilots surprised everyone with their skills. They flew in ways the council hadn't seen before. "Your people adapt quickly," observed Commander Thrak. "Most species take centuries to fly like this." Trade increased every month. Earth's economy transformed. Poverty disappeared as council technology created abundance. Every human had food, shelter, and purpose. Karen Wright became the most popular diplomat in council space. She helped settle disputes between other species. Her human perspective often found solutions that others missed. "Humans see things differently," she explained to the council. "You think in straight lines. We think in curves and spirals." The council appreciated this. They gave humans more responsibility. Earth's voice carried weight in galactic decisions. Young alien students came to Earth's universities. They wanted to learn human ways of thinking. MIT had classes full of beings from across the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez opened clinics on other worlds. She trained alien doctors in human medical approaches. The combination saved lives that neither method could help alone. "Earth brings fresh air to the galaxy," said Ambassador Zyloth during a ceremony. "You remind us that there are always new ways to see old problems." Humans explored further into space. They found ancient ruins on dead worlds. The council shared the history of civilizations that had risen and fallen before Earth existed. Everything was going well. Too well, perhaps, but humans were too happy to notice. They trusted their new friends. They believed in the partnership. The Golden Age continued. Earth prospered. Humanity took its place among the stars. Nobody saw the storm coming. Admiral Lisa Martinez sat in the council station studying star maps. Something bothered her. For 3 weeks, she had watched council military ships moving near Earth's solar system. "These movements don't make sense," she told her staff. "Why do they need so many ships here?" Her lieutenant pointed to the screen. "They say it's routine patrols, Admiral. Protection duty." Lisa frowned. Protection from what? This area of space was peaceful. No hostile species lived nearby. On Earth, intelligence officer Jake Thompson worked late in his secure office. His computers had intercepted strange messages between council members. The messages were coded, but Jake was good at puzzles. After hours of work, he cracked part of the code. His face turned pale as he read the decoded words. The human problem grows worse. Their advancement rate exceeds projections. Containment may be necessary. Jake printed the message and locked it in his safe. He needed more evidence before telling anyone. In her laboratory, Dr. Amy Rodriguez noticed odd things happening. Her latest research project kept failing. Equipment broke at crucial moments. Data disappeared from computers. "Someone is sabotaging my work," she told her assistant. "Who would do that?" he asked. Amy didn't answer. She had a terrible thought, but didn't want to believe it. The Mars colony reported supply problems. Ships arrived late or with wrong cargo. Food shipments were delayed. Medicine ran low. The council apologized for administrative errors. President Alex Cooper called a secret meeting. Only his most trusted advisors attended. "Look at these reports," he said. "Equipment failures, shipping delays, military movements. It's too much for coincidence." Karen Wright spoke up. "My alien contacts are acting strange. They avoid certain topics. Some won't meet with me at all." The pattern was becoming clear. Something had changed in the council's attitude toward Earth. Jake Thompson kept digging. He found more encrypted messages. Each one increased his worry. The council feared humanity's rapid progress. They discussed preventive measures. One message scared him most. "Humans could surpass us within 50 years. This cannot be allowed." Lisa Martinez confronted a council commander about the ship movements. "Your vessels are surrounding our system," she said. "This looks like a blockade." Commander Thrack's expression was cold. "You imagine things, Admiral. Return to your duties." Lisa left the meeting angry. The commander had lied to her face. Paul Fisher's fleet faced new restrictions. The council limited where human ships could travel. They demanded inspections before every mission. They claimed these were safety protocols. "They're putting us in a cage," Paul told his officers. Dr. Rodriguez discovered the full truth about her sabotaged research. Hidden cameras in her lab showed council technicians tampering with her equipment at night. She confronted Dr. Zix. "You're destroying my work." "Why?" The alien doctor looked uncomfortable. "Your research advances too quickly. It disturbs the natural order." Amy understood now. The council didn't want humans to succeed too much. Jake Thompson made a risky decision. He hacked deeper into council communications. What he found confirmed his worst fears. The council had a complete plan to control Earth. They would limit human technology. They would restrict expansion. They would keep humanity dependent forever. One document contained voting records. 11 of 12 council species had voted for the containment plan. Only the Altarians had objected. Lisa Martinez prepared her fleet for the worst. She quietly moved ships to defensive positions. She stockpiled weapons and supplies. "If they want to fight, we'll be ready," she told Paul Fisher. Karen Wright tried one last diplomatic approach. She requested a formal meeting with Ambassador Zyloff. "Our species are friends," she said. "If there are problems, we can solve them together." Zyloff's crystal face showed no emotion. "There are no problems, Ambassador. Earth remains a valued junior member of the Council." Junior member. The word stung. After 5 years, humans were still considered children. The warning signs multiplied. Council ships blocked human exploration missions. Trade agreements were suddenly under review. Technology transfers stopped without explanation. Earth's leaders met in emergency session. The evidence was overwhelming. The Galactic Council was preparing to betray them. The question was no longer if, but when. On December 3, 2162, Admiral Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of her flagship. Her worst fears came true. Council warships surrounded Earth and all human colonies. Hundreds of vessels appeared from hyperspace at the same moment. The main screen lit up. Ambassador Zyloff's crystal face appeared. His voice was cold. "Admiral Martinez, by order of the Galactic Council, Earth must surrender immediately. Disable your weapons. Prepare for boarding." Lisa's hands gripped her command chair. "On what grounds?" "We've broken no laws. The Council has decided. Humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. You will submit to permanent oversight. Your military will be disbanded. Your research will be monitored." "Never," Lisa replied. Zyloff's expression didn't change. Then you choose death. You have 1 hour to reconsider." The transmission ended. Lisa turned to her crew. Their faces showed shock and anger. "Battle stations," she ordered. "All ships, prepare for combat." On Earth, President Alex Cooper watched the alien fleets surrounding the planet. Council ships blocked the sun, casting shadows over entire cities. "How many?" he asked his defense secretary. "Over 2,000 vessels, sir. We have 60. The president closed his eyes. The odds were impossible. Ambassador Karen Wright was in her quarters when council guards burst in. They carried energy weapons. "You're under arrest," the guard captain said. "For what crime?" Karen demanded. "Conspiracy against the council." They dragged her to a detention cell. Through the window, she saw other human diplomats being arrested. The council was removing anyone who might organize resistance. Dr. Amy Rodriguez received an emergency message from President Cooper. She was to activate Project Last Hope immediately. This was the code for humanity's secret weapon, something the council knew nothing about. Amy ran to her hidden laboratory. For 3 years, she had worked on quantum consciousness technology. It could link human minds together. The council had no idea it existed. Jake Thompson's intelligence network went into action. Human agents throughout council space began sabotage operations. They had spent years preparing for this possibility. "Execute Omega Protocol," Jake sent to all agents. "The council has betrayed us." In space, Admiral Martinez moved her ships into defensive formation around Earth. The council fleet commander contacted her. "Surrender, Admiral. You cannot win." "We'll see about that," Lisa replied. The hour passed. Xyloth appeared on screens across Earth. "Humans, your leaders have chosen poorly. Witness the price of defiance." A council battleship fired its main weapon. The beam struck Europa Station. The entire colony exploded. 50,000 humans died instantly. Screams echoed in cities on Earth. People watched in horror as the station became expanding debris. President Cooper's face appeared on every screen. His voice was steadied despite his rage. "Citizens of Earth, the Galactic Council has revealed its true nature. They murdered our people. They demand our slavery. I say this, Earth will never surrender." The Council transmitted their demands to every human. First, all weapons must be destroyed. Second, all military personnel must surrender. Third, all research must be approved by Council observers. Fourth, humans may not leave the solar system without permission. Fifth, Earth accepts permanent Council rule. "You have 48 hours, Xyloth announced. "Refuse, and every human colony will share Europa's fate." Paul Fisher led his combat wing in a desperate move. They attacked the Council ship that destroyed Europa. His pilots fought brilliantly, but Council shields were too strong. "Keep fighting," Paul ordered as his ship took damage. "For Europa." In her cell, Karen Wright was shown the footage of Europa's destruction. The guard smiled. "Your species thought it could challenge ancient powers. Now you learn the truth. The Council rules all." Karen said nothing, but her mind raced. There had to be a way. Humans always found a way. Secret bunkers activated across Earth. Military commanders prepared for invasion. Scientists worked frantically on any technology that might help. Amy Rodriguez sent a coded message to the president. "Project Last Hope needs 24 more hours." The countdown began. Earth had 48 hours before the Council attacked again. The galaxy watched to see if humanity would submit or fight. In space, Lisa Martinez studied her enemy's formation. The odds were impossible, but impossible was just another word for challenge. Admiral Lisa Martinez studied the tactical display. Council ships outnumbered them 40-1. But numbers weren't everything. "All ships, execute Pattern Delta," she ordered. Human vessels scattered in seething chaos. The Council fleet moved to pursue. They didn't know each human ship carried a desperate crew ready to die for Earth. In her hidden lab, Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked without rest. Wires connected dozens of quantum processors. The consciousness network was almost ready. 12 more hours, she told her team. We need 12 more hours. Her assistant looked at the countdown clock. We have 36 hours left, Doctor. Amy nodded. It would be close. Commander Paul Fisher led his damaged squadron in hit-and-run attacks. His ships would appear, fire weapons, then vanish into space. The Council forces grew frustrated. Human pests, growled Commander Thrak. Swat them like flies. But the humans weren't flies. They were wasps stinging again and again. Jake Thompson's intelligence network struck across the galaxy. Human agents sabotaged Council communication relays. They destroyed supply depots. They spread computer viruses in Council systems. On Altair Prime, sympathetic aliens helped human agents. The Altarians had voted against the containment plan. Now they secretly aided Earth's resistance. Your species has honor, an Altarian told Jake's agent. The Council has lost theirs. President Alex Cooper addressed Earth's military commanders. His face showed determination. We cannot match their weapons, but we have something they don't expect. Human will. Human courage. Make them pay for every inch of space. Captain Sam Davis volunteered for a suicide mission. His ship was old, damaged from earlier battles, but its reactor could become a bomb. For Earth, Sam said. For Europa. His ship accelerated toward the Council command dreadnought. Enemy weapons fired. Sam's shields failed. His hull cracked. But he kept flying straight. The impact was tremendous. Sam's ship exploded against the dreadnought's bridge. The massive Council vessel tumbled through space, crippled. One down, Lisa Martinez whispered, "Thank you, Sam." The sacrifice inspired every human fighter. They attacked with new fury. Small victories added up. 17 Council ships were damaged or destroyed. But the cost was terrible. Earth lost half its fleet in 24 hours. In her cell, Karen Wright organized fellow prisoners. They had no weapons, but they had minds. They planned. They prepared. When the chance came, they would act. Amy Rodriguez made final adjustments to the quantum network. Brain scanners sat in every major city. Satellites would carry the signal worldwide. This will link every human mind, she explained to President Cooper. We'll share thoughts, knowledge, skills. We'll become something new. What if it doesn't work? He asked. Then we die as humans, Amy replied. But I think we'll live as something more. The Council grew impatient. Xyloth appeared on Earth's screens again. 24 hours remain. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Continue resistance, and face extinction. President Cooper responded publicly. We choose freedom. We choose humanity. We reject your chains. Council forces pressed harder. They destroyed Mars defense platforms. They captured mining stations in the asteroid belt. The noose tightened around Earth. Jake Thompson discovered something important in decoded Council messages. They feared Earth for a specific reason. Human minds adapted faster than any known species. The Council worried humans might evolve beyond their control. They're afraid of what we could become, Jake told the president. Then let's become it, Cooper replied. Lisa Martinez pulled her remaining ships back to Earth orbit. They formed a final defensive line. 40 combat vessels against 2,000. The math was simple. The outcome seemed certain. But humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars. They had reached the stars through stubborn determination. Amy Rodriguez sent the final message. Network ready. Activation in 4 hours. President Cooper made the decision. Do it. Save our species. The countdown entered its final phase. Council fleets prepared for total assault. Earth's defenders said their goodbyes. In 4 hours, humanity would change forever, if they survived that long. Dr. Amy Rodriguez stood before the activation console. Her hand hovered over the red button. Around the world, Billions of humans waited near quantum scanners. "Begin the sequence," she ordered. The machines hummed to life. Energy fields surrounded every scanner. In cities, towns, and villages, humans felt a strange tingling sensation. "Network initializing," her assistant reported. "Connection in 3 minutes." Admiral Lisa Martinez watched Council fleets moving into final attack position. Her remaining ships were badly damaged. They had minutes left. "All vessels, prepare for last stand," she commanded. Then something incredible happened. Lisa felt a presence in her mind. Not invasive, but welcoming. Like a door opening to a vast library. The quantum network activated. Every human mind connected simultaneously. Farmers shared thoughts with scientists. Children linked with elders. Soldiers merged consciousness with artists. Amy Rodriguez experienced it first. Knowledge flowed through her like a river. She suddenly understood advanced physics from a professor in Tokyo. Military tactics from Lisa Martinez filled her awareness. Diplomatic skills from Karen Wright became part of her. "It's working," she gasped. "We're becoming one." But not one entity. Each person remained individual. They simply shared a collective pool of knowledge, skills, and understanding. Humanity had evolved in seconds. The transformation showed immediately in battle. Human pilots suddenly flew with perfect coordination. They moved as a single organism with millions of parts. Their attacks became impossibly precise. Commander Paul Fisher felt the change. He knew what every pilot was thinking. He could see through their eyes, feel through their hands. The squadron became an extension of his will. "Attack pattern Omega," he thought. His pilots moved without verbal orders. Council forces faced an enemy they couldn't understand. Human ships dodged attacks before weapons fired. They struck at exact weak points. They coordinated movements across vast distances instantly. In her cell, Karen Wright touched the door lock. The quantum network had given her an engineer's knowledge of electronics. She understood the mechanism perfectly. "Follow me," she told other prisoners as the door opened. They moved through the station like ghosts. Each person shared guard positions through the network. They avoided patrols with supernatural timing. Jake Thompson's network became even more effective. Every human spy could access any skill needed. A cook became a computer expert. A janitor understood alien languages perfectly. Council systems started failing everywhere. Humans had become universal experts at everything. Lisa Martinez interfaced directly with her flagship's computer. Through the quantum link, thousands of engineers helped optimize her systems. Weapons that should have failed work beyond specifications. "Target their command ships," she thought to the fleet. Human vessels moved like a school of fish. They surrounded isolated council ships and struck simultaneously. Advanced alien shields failed against perfectly coordinated attacks. The council commanders couldn't adapt. They faced an enemy that shared one mind but fought with millions of bodies. Every human knew what every other human was doing. Zoloth watched his tactical display in confusion. Human ships performed impossible maneuvers. Their accuracy defied physics. Their coordination exceeded computer calculations. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, Ambassador," his aide replied. "Human behavior has changed fundamentally. On Earth, the transformation spread beyond military applications. Scientists combined their knowledge instantly. Medical breakthroughs happened in minutes. Engineers solved impossible problems by thinking together. Children learned languages in seconds by connecting with native speakers. Artists created masterpieces by channeling collective creativity. Musicians composed symphonies that millions heard in their minds. President Alex Cooper felt the weight of humanity's hopes. Through the network, he understood every citizen's fears and dreams. He spoke, and his words resonated in every human mind. "We are still individuals, but now we are also united. The Council feared our potential. Now we show them why." Council attacks began to fail. Human defenders anticipated every move. They turned enemy strategies against themselves. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. Amy Rodriguez smiled as data flowed through the network. Humanity had taken its next evolutionary step. They were no longer just Homo sapiens. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen. The Council's nightmare had come true. The galaxy erupted in revolution. On 100 worlds, young species watched humanity's transformation. They saw Earth fight back against impossible odds. They saw the Council's fear. On Kepler 442 bits, the Zelani rose up. These peaceful traders had suffered under Council taxes for centuries. Now they refused to pay. If humans can resist, so can we, declared their leader. Jake Thompson coordinated with rebel groups everywhere. The quantum network let him process thousands of communications instantly. Human agents helped organize uprisings on dozens of planets. The Vorthan people destroyed Council bases in their system. The Ethereals shut down jump gates the Council needed for travel. The Mokari refused to mine precious metals for Council ships. Ambassador Karen Wright, free from her cell, reached a communication center. Through the quantum network, she spoke with perfect fluency in 20 alien languages. Friends across the galaxy, she broadcast. The Council rules through fear, but fear dies when people stand together. Join humanity. Choose freedom. Her words sparked more rebellions. Young species that had accepted Council rule for millennia suddenly questioned everything. On Altair Prime, something shocking happened. High Commander Xerix of the Altarians made a historic announcement. The Altarian Republic withdraws from the Galactic Council. We stand with Earth. The Altarians were founding members of the Council. Their defection shook the galaxy. They revealed secret Council documents showing centuries of oppression and lies. The Council fears evolution, Xerix explained. They destroy any species that might surpass them. Humanity is their greatest nightmare, a species that grows too fast to control. Admiral Lisa Martinez led humanity's counteroffensive. Through the quantum network, she commanded not just Earth's fleet, but coordinated with rebel forces everywhere. Strike at their supply lines, she thought to allied commanders. Human and alien ships attacked together. Council forces found themselves fighting on 100 fronts. Their ancient strategies failed against network thinking. Paul Fisher's squadron liberated the prison station holding human diplomats. Enhanced by the quantum link, his pilots performed surgical strikes. They disabled defenses without killing guards. We're better than them, Paul told his pilots. We don't need genocide to win. The Council's response was panic. Xyloth called emergency sessions. Member species blamed each other for the crisis. Humanity was contained. The Drakon representative snarled. Your incompetence let them evolve. Evolution cannot be stopped, replied the Centauri delegate. Perhaps we were wrong to try. Council unity crumbled. 3 more member species announced neutrality. They would not fight against Earth or the rebels. Amy Rodriguez made another breakthrough. The quantum network could be shared with other species. Altarian volunteers were the first to try. Incredible, said the first Altarian to connect. I understand things I never imagined, yet I remain myself. News spread quickly. Species across the galaxy wanted to join the network. The Council forbade it, but their authority was collapsing. President Cooper offered public terms to the Council. End your oppression. Release all controlled species. Share technology freely. Accept equality, not dominion. Xyloth refused. The Council has ruled for 1,000,000 years. We will not bow to infants. But the Council's 1,000,000-year reign was ending. Their fleets were scattered, fighting rebellions everywhere. Their economy collapsed as trade routes shut down. Their technology advantages disappeared as humans and allies shared knowledge. Jake Thompson's final intelligence coup was devastating. He released recordings of Council meetings from centuries past. The recordings showed the Council deliberately holding back younger species. They had caused wars to prevent advancement. They had destroyed civilizations that grew too quickly. The galaxy's anger exploded. Even neutral species joined the rebellion. The Council faced universal revolution. In a desperate move, remaining Council hardliners gathered their last fleets. They would destroy Earth directly, hoping fear would restore their control. 200 Council battleships approached Earth, but they faced something unprecedented. Human ships supported by Altarian cruisers, Zelani traders converted to warships, Vorthan attack craft, ethereal energy platforms. The free galaxy stood with Earth. The final battle began above Earth. 200 Council ships faced the united fleet of free species. Admiral Lisa Martinez commanded from her flagship, her mind linked with thousands of allies. "Today we end tyranny," she broadcast. "Today the galaxy becomes free." The Council attacked first. Ancient weapons fired beams of incredible power, but the free fleet moved as one. Ships dodged with perfect timing. Shields combined to protect damaged vessels. Paul Fisher led mixed squadrons of human and alien pilots. Through the quantum network, they shared abilities. Altarian precision merged with human creativity. Zelani trading skills became tactical genius. The Council commanders couldn't adapt. Their rigid thinking met fluid innovation. Their million-year-old strategies crumbled against networked consciousness. On Earth, Amy Rodriguez expanded the quantum network to welcome more species. Vorthans connected first, then ethereals. Each species kept its identity while gaining collective knowledge. "We're building something beautiful," Amy said. "Unity without uniformity." The space battle turned decisive when the Mokuri arrived. These gentle miners had converted their industrial ships into weapons. They carried antimatter bombs made from Council technology. "For all the species you destroyed," the Mokuri leader declared. Council formations broke apart. Their ships fought individually while Free Fleet coordinated perfectly. One by one, Council vessels fell silent. Ambassador Zoloth watched his empire collapse. His crystalline form flickered with rage and fear. "Activate the Omega Protocol," he ordered. Hidden Council weapons emerged from subspace, planet-killer devices aimed at Earth and rebel worlds. The Council would destroy everything rather than lose control. But Jake Thompson had prepared for this. His agents had spent years finding these weapons. As they activated, human and allied hackers struck. The quantum network gave them processing power beyond any computer. The planet killers turned on their creators. Council command ships exploded in brilliant flashes. Xylot's dreadnought broke apart. The ambassador's last transmission cut short. In 3 hours, the battle ended. The Galactic Council's fleet was destroyed or surrendered. Their million-year reign was over. President Alex Cooper appeared on screens across the galaxy. Behind him stood representatives of every free species. "The war is over, but our work begins now. We must build something better than the Council ever was." Karen Wright led negotiations with surrendering Council members. Through the quantum network, she understood their fears perfectly. "You're not monsters," she told them. "You're afraid. You forgot that growth brings strength, not threat." Some Council species accepted the offer to join the network. They added their ancient knowledge to the collective while keeping their culture intact. Amy Rodriguez established the Federation of Free Worlds. Unlike the Council's hierarchy, this was true partnership. Decisions were made collectively. Resources shared freely. Knowledge flowed between all members. "No species rules," she explained. "We guide each other. We grow together." The quantum network evolved beyond its creator's dreams. It became a bridge between different forms of consciousness. Silicon-based ethereals communed with carbon-based humans. Energy beings shared thoughts with physical species. Admiral Lisa Martinez commanded the new peacekeeping force. Former enemies worked side by side. Council technology merged with human innovation and alien wisdom. "We protect freedom," she told her crews. "Never to conquer, only to defend." Years passed. The galaxy flourished under freedom. Species that had stagnated for millennia suddenly advanced. Art, science, and culture exploded in diversity. The former Council members found their place in the new order. The Drakon became teachers, sharing their ancient history. The Centauri turned their weapons into tools for building. Even Xyloth's people, the Crystalline Collective, joined eventually. Jake Thompson wrote in his memoirs, "They betrayed us out of terror. We defeated them through transcendence. They gave us adversity. We returned wisdom. Earth became a symbol, not a ruler. The small blue planet that refused to surrender. The young species that chose evolution over extinction. The world that brought freedom to a galaxy." Humanity's message echoed across the stars. Betray us, and we become stronger. Challenge us, and we evolve. Fear us, and lose everything. Accept us, and gain eternity. The Council had betrayed Earth. They would indeed regret it forever, not through suffering, but by witnessing the glory they could have shared had they chosen trust over treachery. The U.S. Pathfinder drifted silently through the rings of Saturn, its sensors scanning the icy particles that glittered like diamonds against the black of space. Captain Frank Miller stood on the bridge, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of the control panels. After 6 months in deep space, the research vessel had collected enough data to keep Earth's scientists busy for years. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Communications Officer Lisa Johnson, her fingers dancing across her console. "It's not one of ours." Miller walked over to her station. "Asteroid reflection." "No, sir. It's moving against the orbital path." Johnson's voice dropped to a whisper. "And it's slowing down." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this could mean. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity might finally have its answer. "Put it on screen," Miller ordered, his heart racing. The main display flickered to life, showing a teardrop-shaped vessel with a smooth metallic surface that seemed to change color as it moved. It was unlike anything built on Earth. "It's approximately 300 meters in length," reported Science Officer Peter Walsh. "No visible propulsion system. No radiation signature we can detect." Miller straightened his uniform. "Send the first contact package. All frequencies." Johnson nodded and transmitted the carefully prepared message. A simple greeting, mathematical sequences, and basic information about Earth and humans that scientists had debated for decades. For 3 tense minutes, nothing happened. Then the alien ship pulsed with blue light. "We're receiving a response," Johnson said, her eyes wide. It's in English." "What?" Miller leaned over her shoulder. "They've processed our languages from our global communications," Johnson explained, her voice shaking with excitement. "They're requesting visual contact." Miller nodded, and the screen changed to show a being with pale blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. It had no visible nose, and its mouth was a thin line across its face. "I am Teltor of the Zorlian Exploration Fleet," the alien said, its voice melodic despite the strange shape of its mouth. "We have been observing your solar system for some time." Miller stepped forward. "I am Captain Frank Miller of the United Earth Space Agency vessel Pathfinder. We welcome you in peace." Xeltor tilted its head. "Your species is younger than we expected to find traveling so far from your home. The Galactic Council will be interested to evaluate you." "Galactic Council?" Miller asked. "The governing body that maintains peace among spacefaring civilizations. As a newly discovered intelligent species, you have the right to present yourselves before the Council." Xeltor paused. "Should you pass their assessment, you would gain access to trade routes, technology exchange, and protection under galactic law." News of the encounter spread across Earth like wildfire. In every nation, people gathered around screens to watch the historic broadcast as President Eleanor Wright addressed the United Nations. "Today marks the greatest moment in human history," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We are not alone in the universe, and we have been invited to join a community of intelligent beings among the stars." In the weeks that followed, humanity prepared feverishly for their debut on the galactic stage. Captain Miller and Officer Johnson were selected as Earth's representatives, Given their first-hand experience with the Zorlians, scientists briefed them on humanity's achievements, diplomats coached them on protocol, and psychologists prepared them for the shock of alien cultures. As they boarded the Zorlian transport ship that would take them to the Council station, Miller turned to Johnson. "Do you think they'll like us?" he asked quietly. Johnson smiled. "What's not to like? We're curious, adaptable, and we've come farther in the last century than many civilizations do in 1,000 years." Little did they know that most advanced species in the galaxy view humans very differently, as primitive, violent creatures barely worth acknowledging. The welcome they expected would instead become the greatest humiliation humanity had ever faced. The Zorlian transport ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Frank Miller pressed his face against the viewing port, his breath fogging the glass as the massive Council station came into view. The structure was unlike anything humans had ever built, a series of intersecting rings that spun slowly around a central sphere, all of it gleaming silver in the light of Epsilon Eridani. "It's bigger than Manhattan," Lisa Johnson whispered beside him. Zeltor approached them, its blue skin reflecting the lights of the ship's corridor. "We will dock in 20 of your minutes. You should prepare your presentation materials." Miller nodded, but his attention remained fixed on the station. Hundreds of ships moved around it like fish in a pond, each designed stranger than the last. Some looked like crystal snowflakes, others like massive sea creatures. The diversity was overwhelming. After docking, Miller and Johnson followed Zeltor through winding corridors, filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others walked on multiple legs or slithered across the floor. The air smelled of strange spices and electrical discharge. "The Council chamber is ahead," Zeltor said, stopping before a massive doorway. "I must warn you, the Council values composure. Showed no fear or excessive emotion." The doors slid open to reveal a vast circular room. Tiered seating surrounded a central speaking platform, with each tier holding representatives from different worlds. Miller counted at least 50 species before giving up. "The humans from Sol 3, announced a booming voice as Miller and Johnson were led to the central platform. The chamber quieted as all eyes turned to them. Miller cleared his throat and began the speech he had practiced 1,000 times on the journey. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, we come as representatives of Earth and all humanity. We are honored to stand among you and hope to learn from your wisdom and share our own unique perspectives." He continued, outlining humanity's achievements, their art, their science, their rapid technological advancement from stone tools to space travel in mere thousands of years. Johnson operated a holographic display showing Earth's greatest architectural and cultural achievements. When Miller finished, he stood tall, waiting for the welcoming response he expected. A low rumble began in the upper tiers. It took Miller a moment to realize what he was hearing. Laughter. The aliens were laughing at them. A tall reptilian being with iridescent scales rose from the highest tier. "I am Elder HFY of the Draconian Empire," it said, its voice deep and resonant. "And I must ask my fellow council members, are we truly considering these violent primitives for membership?" The laughter grew louder. "They still use combustion engines," called out a gelatinous being from the third tier. "Their medical science relies on cutting their bodies open," shouted another. "They've had 3 global wars in the last century alone," added a small furry creature. Zarthol raised a clawed hand, and the chamber fell silent. "Humans," it said, looking down at Miller and Johnson with golden eyes. "You speak of achievements, yet your people still fight over resources, religion, and territory. You destroy your own planet's ecosystem for temporary comfort. You split the atom and immediately built weapons with it." Miller felt his face burning. "We have made mistakes, yes, but we learn from them. Our capacity for growth. Your capacity for violence is what concerns this council," Zarthol interrupted. "We have observed your entertainment, which glorifies conflict and death. We have seen how you treat your own kind who differ in appearance or belief. A smaller alien with 4 arms stepped forward from a middle tier. "If I may, Elder XR Thul, I am Zelna of Arcturus. Perhaps we are being too harsh. The humans have shown remarkable adaptability. Adaptability without wisdom is dangerous." XR Thul replied dismissively. "The Council will vote." The vote was swift and decisive. Earth would be granted observational status only, denied trade routes, technology exchange, and protection under galactic law. "Return to your world," Exarthul told them, not bothering to hide his contempt. "When you have outgrown your violent nature, perhaps in another 1,000 years, you may petition the Council again." As Miller and Johnson were escorted from the chamber, the laughter followed them. Johnson's eyes shimmered with unused tears, but Miller's jaw was set in a hard line. "This isn't over," he whispered to her. "They've misjudged us, and that's the biggest mistake they could make." The return journey to Earth felt much longer than the trip to the Council station. Frank Miller spent most of it studying the Zorlian ship systems, while Lisa Johnson reviewed recordings of their humiliating Council session. Neither spoke much, both carrying the weight of humanity's rejection. When they finally landed at the United Earth Space Agency headquarters in Geneva, they were met not with the celebration they had hoped for, but with grim faces and tense silence. President Eleanor Wright watched the Council recording in the dim light of the Situation Room, surrounded by her advisors. When it ended, she removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "So they think we're violent primitives," she said finally. "What exactly does observational status mean for us?" Miller stood at attention. "We can send observers to Council meetings but have no vote. We're denied access to their technology, trade networks, and protection. Essentially, we're on our own." The Secretary of Defense, William Carter, a stocky man with close-cropped gray hair, leaned forward. "Are they monitoring us?" "Yes," Johnson answered. "The Zorlians mentioned observation posts at the edge of our solar system. They're watching to see if we're evolving in the direction they approve of." The room fell silent again until Dr. Alan Garcia, Earth's leading xenobiologist, cleared his throat. He was a small man with intense eyes and nervous hands that never seemed to stop moving. "They told us more than they realize," Garcia said, pulling up holographic images of the various council members. "Each of these species evolved under different conditions. The Draconians, for example, come from a world with minimal seasonal change. Their evolutionary path rewarded stability, not adaptation." He switched to footage of XR Thul. "Look at how he dismissed humanity's rapid advancement. He can't comprehend how quickly we adapt because his species never had to." President Wright leaned forward. "You're saying their mockery revealed a weakness." "Exactly," Garcia nodded eagerly. "They underestimate our adaptability because it's outside their experience. And they don't understand something else about humans." He paused. "We thrive when challenged." Carter stood up and walked to the window overlooking Lake Geneva. "The question is, how do we respond? We could isolate ourselves, focus on our own development, or we could try to prove them wrong." The global summit that followed lasted for days. Leaders from every nation debated humanity's future among the stars. Public opinion was similarly divided. Some wanted nothing to do with aliens who looked down on them. Others felt a burning need to prove humanity's worth. On the final day, in a session closed to the public, President Wright recognized a woman in a simple lab coat who had requested to speak. She was Patricia Morgan, a physicist whose work on theoretical propulsion systems had been largely dismissed by her peers. "The Zorlian ship uses principles I've been working on for years," Morgan said, displaying equations on the main screen. "Their implementation is more advanced, but the fundamentals are the same. I believe I can reverse engineer their propulsion system based on the data Captain Miller collected." Engineer Kevin Lewis joined her at the podium, and with some adjustments to our manufacturing processes, we could build ships faster and more efficiently than ever before. Carter looked at them with narrowed eyes. "How quickly?" 5 years, Morgan said confidently. "Maybe less with proper funding." President Wright surveyed the room. "What are you suggesting?" "Operation Renaissance. Carter said, the name coming to him suddenly. We accept our primitive status publicly. We even play it up. Meanwhile, we pour every resource into advancing our technology based on what we've learned. Johnson, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. The Council's observations would show exactly what they expect to see: humans continuing their petty conflicts and consumerism. But underneath, Miller added, understanding dawning, we'd be preparing a response to their mockery. A unified effort like humanity has never seen before. President Wright looked at each person in the room, seeing determination replace the shame that had hung over them since the transmission from the Council. Then it's decided, she said. Let the quiet years begin. 5 years passed in what the rest of the galaxy believed was human submission. The Zorlian observation posts recorded what appeared to be business as usual on Earth. Nations squabbled over resources, celebrities dominated news cycles, and consumers chased the newest gadgets. Occasional requests for technological assistance were sent to the Council and politely declined, reinforcing the image of a primitive species dependent on their galactic superiors. But deep beneath this carefully maintained facade, humanity worked with single-minded purpose. In an underground facility beneath the Arizona desert, Patricia Morgan wiped sweat from her brow as she studied holographic projections of her latest propulsion designs. The lab around her hummed with activity as dozens of scientists worked on various components. Dr. Morgan called a young assistant. The test results from yesterday's simulation are ready. Morgan nodded and pulled up the data. A smile spread across her face as she read the numbers. It works, she whispered. The modified drive creates a stable warp field using 30% less energy than the Zorlian design. On the other side of the world, in a vast manufacturing complex hidden within the Norwegian mountains, Kevin Lewis inspected a newly fabricated hull section. The metal gleamed under the bright lights, its surface covered in microscopic patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The adaptive material is responding perfectly, he told his team. It'll absorb 95% of sensor scans and can adjust its properties based on surrounding space conditions. Lewis ran his hand along the smooth surface. What had begun as reverse engineering had evolved into something new, human innovation improving upon alien designs. Meanwhile, beneath the Pacific Ocean, Colonel Diane Foster watched as her recruits ran combat drills in a massive training facility. The men and women of the newly formed Space Defense Force moved with precision in their sleek, black combat suits. Again, Foster ordered as the team completed the exercise, 10 seconds faster this time. Foster had been handpicked to build Earth's first unified space military. Her background in special operations made her perfect for training soldiers who would need to operate in environments no human had ever fought in before. Ma'am, her second-in-command approached with a tablet. The live-fire tests for the new Railven system are complete. All targets destroyed with minimal energy expenditure. Foster nodded, satisfaction evident in her eyes. Load the results into the tactical simulators. I want every team practicing with them by tomorrow. In orbit above Earth, the public face of human space advancement continued. Small, conventional ships carried supplies to the Moon colony and Mars outpost. Nothing that would alarm the watching aliens, but each mission contained hidden purposes. Testing new materials, training crews, or deploying small, stealthy satellites that extended humanity's surveillance network. Once a month, the leaders of Operation Renaissance gathered in a secure room deep within the United Nations complex in Geneva. Today, President Wright studied the progress reports with a mixture of pride and tension. 5 years, she said, looking around the table. When we started, some said it couldn't be done. But here we are. Secretary Carter nodded. The fleet is nearly ready. 12 ships, each more advanced than anything the Zorlians showed us. Small, but powerful, and completely undetectable to their observation posts, added Johnson, who now served as the head of Earth's intelligence operations. As far as the Council knows, we're still building chemical rockets and arguing about territory. Dr. Garcia pulled up images of various council races. Our monitoring of their communications shows no indication they suspect anything. In fact, several reports suggest they've lost interest in us entirely. President Wright stood and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful scene of Geneva at sunset. "Have we done enough?" she asked quietly. "The Council has the combined knowledge of dozens of advanced civilizations. Even with all our progress, we're taking an enormous risk if we challenge them." Miller, now an admiral overseeing the fleet's training, joined her at the window. "We're not looking to challenge them," he reminded her. "We've prepared to defend ourselves and to be taken seriously. Nothing more." Wright nodded slowly. "Let's hope we never need to use any of it." Little did they know that events were already in motion that would force humanity to reveal its hand far sooner than anyone had planned. The emergency alarm blared through the command center beneath Geneva, pulling President Wright from a deep sleep. She rushed to the Situation Room, still pulling on her jacket as she entered. Around the table, faces looked grim in the blue glow of holographic displays. "What happened?" she demanded. Admiral Miller gestured to the main screen where a recording played. On it, a blue-skinned alien that Wright recognized as an Arcturian spoke urgently. "This is Ambassador Zelna of Arcturus, broadcasting on all frequencies. The Krull Dominion has launched an unprovoked attack on our homeworld. Our outer colonies have fallen. Billions are in danger. We request immediate assistance under Article 7 of the Galactic Compact." The message repeated, growing more desperate with each iteration. "The Arcturians," Wright said softly. "They were the only ones who spoke up for us at the Council." Lisa Johnson nodded, her face tight with concern. "This message was intercepted by our Deep Space Monitoring Network 3 hours ago. It was directed to the Council." "And their response?" asked Secretary Carter. Johnson tapped her screen, and another recording began to play. The council chamber appeared, filled with shouting representatives. Elder Exar Thol stood at the center, trying to maintain order. "The Krull are not members of the council," the reptilian elder was saying. "This is an unfortunate regional conflict, but not a direct threat to council space. They have surrounded our homeworld." Zelna cried out, his normally calm demeanor shattered. "Our planetary shields will fail within days. We need military support now." Zarthol raised his clawed hands for silence. "The Council will vote on sending an evacuation fleet for Arcturian leadership and cultural artifacts. We cannot risk a direct confrontation with the Krull." "Evacuation." Zelna's voice broke. "There are 9 billion Arcturians on our homeworld. You would abandon them." The recording ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. "They're going to let them die," Dr. Garcia said, his voice flat with disbelief. Admiral Miller turned to President Wright. "Ma'am, the Arcturians were the only species to show us any kindness. They stood up for us when no one else would." Wright studied the tactical displays showing the position of the Krull fleet around Arcturus. "How many ships do they have?" "Based on the transmissions, we estimate 30 major vessels and numerous smaller craft," Johnson replied. "They're a nomadic species, aggressive expansionists, not part of the Council because they refuse to acknowledge any authority beyond their own." "And our fleet?" Wright asked, turning to Miller. "The 12 ships of Phoenix Squadron are ready," he answered without hesitation. "They've completed all testing phases. We were planning to reveal them next month anyway." Colonel Foster, who had been quietly analyzing the Krull fleet formations, looked up. "The Krull don't know we exist as a military force. We would have the element of surprise. If we do this," Carter cautioned, "there's no going back. We'd be revealing everything we've built." Wright walked slowly around the table, looking at each person in turn. 5 years ago, the Council mocked us as violent primitives. They said we only used our technology to destroy." She paused. "Perhaps it's time to show them what humanity really stands for." She straightened her shoulders and nodded to Miller. "Admiral, deploy Phoenix Squadron to Arcturus immediately. Our mission is to evacuate as many Arcturian civilians as possible and provide defensive support against the Krull fleet. Miller saluted sharply. Yes, Madam President. Lisa, Wright continued, turning to Johnson. Prepare a message to the Council. Tell them. She smiled thinly. Tell them humanity is answering the Arcturian call for aid, as any civilized species would. Within an hour, the 12 ships of Phoenix Squadron lifted silently from their hidden bases around Earth. Unlike the bulky, obvious vessels that humanity had been publicly producing, these ships were sleek, dark, and virtually undetectable. Their hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, making them nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. In the lead vessel, U.S. Defiant, Commander Susan Taylor studied the final mission briefing. Her crew moved with purpose around her, preparing for the first faster-than-light jump using entirely human-built technology. All systems ready, Commander, her pilot reported. Awaiting your order. Taylor took a deep breath. Humanity's moment had arrived. Take us to Arcturus, she commanded. Maximum speed. The 12 ships of Phoenix Squadron emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Arcturian system. Commander Susan Taylor felt a moment of pride as her crew maintained perfect formation despite this being their first real jump. Status report, she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. All ships present and operational, her second-in-command reported. No detection from Krull forces yet. Our stealth systems are working. On the main view screen, the beautiful blue-green Arcturian homeworld came into view. It would have been breathtaking if not for the Krull warships surrounding it. Dark, spiked vessels moved in a tightening orbit, occasionally firing bright energy weapons at the planet's failing shields. Scan for Arcturian frequencies, Taylor commanded. Let's hear what we're dealing with. Within moments, desperate communications filled the bridge speakers. This is Central Defense Station. Southern Shield Grid is at 12%. Medical Center 7 reports critical overload. We need AVAC transport. Civilian shelters in the capital are at triple capacity. We can't hold much longer. Taylor silenced the transmissions with a gesture and opened a channel to the other 11 ships. Phoenix Squadron, this is Commander Taylor. You've all heard our mission objectives. The Krull don't know we're here, and that gives us one chance to make this count. She pulled up tactical displays showing the Krull fleet positions. Defiant, Intrepid, and Valiant will engage the main Krull battleships. Horizon, Venture, and Discovery will run interference on their support craft. The remaining 6 ships will begin immediate evacuation of civilian centers, prioritizing the most vulnerable areas. Colonel Jack Rivera, commanding the ground forces aboard the troop carrier Liberty, spoke up. My teams are ready for surface deployment. We can secure evacuation zones and assist Arcturian defense forces. Approved, Taylor nodded. Remember everyone, we're not here to start a war. We're here to save lives. Let's show the galaxy what humanity stands for. The Phoenix Squadron split into their assigned groups and accelerated toward the planet. The Defiant, under Taylor's command, led the attack group straight toward the largest Krull battleship. Weapons hot, Taylor ordered. Railguns targeted on their main propulsion systems. Fire when ready. The Defiant's advanced railguns fired massive projectiles at incredible speeds. They tore through the Krull ship's rear shields, which hadn't been raised to full power due to their belief that no opposition remained in the system. The Krull battleship lurched, emergency lights flashing along its hull, as the crew scrambled to respond to this unexpected attack. Before they could react, the Intrepid and Valiant struck from different angles, their synchronized attack disabling the battleship's main weapons. Meanwhile, the evacuation ships dived toward the planet's surface, deploying their own shields to protect against scattered Krull fire. Ground teams led by Colonel Rivera dropped to the surface in rapid deployment pods, securing landing zones around major population centers. This is Colonel Jack Rivera of Earth. He transmitted on Arcturian frequencies as his boots hit the ground. We're here to help with evacuation. Direct your civilians to our landing zones. The Arcturians, blue-skinned and slender, stared in shock at the human soldiers. One stepped forward, his robes marking him as a city official. Earth? Humans? But the council said. The council isn't here. Rivera cut him off kindly, but firmly. We are. Now how can we help? Above the planet, the space battle intensified as the Crawl recovered from their surprise. Their ships turned from bombarding the planet to engaging the human vessels, but they found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. The human ships moved with unexpected agility, their adaptive hulls absorbing enemy scans and making targeting nearly impossible. Their weapons are adjusting, called out the Defiant's tactical officer as a Crawl energy beam struck their shields. Shield frequencies are automatically adapting. Taylor nodded with satisfaction. The adaptive shield technology developed by Patricia Morgan was working perfectly, analyzing enemy weapons and adjusting to minimize damage. In orbit, the evacuation ships worked with incredible efficiency, their holds filling with Arcturian civilians who watched in awe as human crew members helped them aboard, provided medical care, and calmed frightened children. Hours into the operation, long-range sensors detected new ships entering the system. Taylor tensed until identification confirmed them as council vessels, the token evacuation force they had finally dispatched. Looks like we have company, she informed her crew. Let's show them how humanity responds to a crisis. The emergency council session was called within hours of the Arcturian incident. The Grand Chamber, usually organized and formal, buzzed with confused and angry voices. Elder HFY stood at the center. Trying to maintain order as representatives from 24 species shouted questions and demands. Silence. The Draconian finally roared, his scales flushing purple with anger. We will address this situation with the dignity befitting the Galactic Council. The chamber quieted, though tension remained thick in the air. On the main display, footage from the Arcturian battle played. Human ships engaging Crawl vessels, ground teams evacuating civilians, medical personnel treating the injured. These primitives have violated the terms of their observational status. HFY continued, pointing a clawed finger at the images. They have developed unauthorized technology, built military vessels, and interfered in a conflict outside their jurisdiction. A side door to the chamber opened, and all heads turned as 3 humans entered, Frank Miller and Lisa Johnson, now both admirals, accompanied by Henry Bell, the newly appointed human ambassador. They walked calmly to the center of the chamber, showing none of the awe or nervousness from their first visit years ago. The humans will explain their actions, HFY demanded, looking down at them with undisguised contempt. Ambassador Bell, a tall man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples, stepped forward. We received a distress call from the Arcturian people, he said, his deep voice carrying throughout the chamber. We responded, as any civilized species would, with technology you should not possess. HFY countered. With military vessels you were not authorized to build. Authorized? Admiral Miller raised an eyebrow. The Council granted us observational status, not subjugation. We observed, we learned, and we built. Nothing in that agreement prohibited our development. Lisa Johnson activated a small device, and new images appeared on the Council displays. Planets and star systems the Council members didn't immediately recognize. During what you call our quiet years, humanity established diplomatic and trade relations with 17 non-Council worlds, Johnson explained. Worlds the Council has ignored or deemed unworthy of attention. Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives recognized some of the systems, minor species, young civilizations, or those with little to offer the powerful Council members. This is further violation. HFY sputtered. Unauthorized contact with species who, like us, were dismissed by the Council. Bell interrupted smoothly. Species who have been grateful for human medicine, engineering assistance, and fair trade agreements. Before HFY could respond, a commotion came from one of the entrances. Ambassador Zelna of Arcturus rushed in, followed by several other Arcturians. His usual formal attire was replaced by simple clothes, stained and torn from the evacuation. "The humans saved us," he called out, his voice ringing with emotion. "While the council debated, they acted. While you prepared to evacuate a few hundred of our leaders, they rescued millions of our children, our sick, our elderly." He approached the center of the chamber, standing beside the humans. "I have seen their ships protect civilian evacuees at risk to themselves. I have seen their medics work until they collapsed to save Arcturian lives. Are these the actions of the violent primitives you described, Elder Xarthol?" Xarthol's scales darkened further. "Their technology. Their technology saved my world," Zelna cut in. "And I have studied the recordings from the battle." He activated his own device, showing detailed technical readouts. "Their propulsion systems, their shields, their weapons, all are original designs. Yes, they learned from us, but they improved upon what they learned. They innovated where we have stagnated." Admiral Bell stepped forward again, his expression serious but not threatening. "We did not come to challenge the council, but to correct a misconception. You judged humanity too quickly and too harshly." He swept his arm toward the displays still showing human ships. "In less than 5 years, we achieved what you thought would take us centuries. Not because we are violent, but because we are adaptable. Not because we seek conflict, but because we refuse to accept limitations." He looked directly at Xarthol. "You mocked humanity for our differences. Perhaps it's time to consider that those differences might be strengths, not weaknesses." A long silence fell over the chamber as council members looked at each other, at the humans, and at the evidence before them. The galaxy had changed, and they knew it. The question was, how would they respond? 3 months after the confrontation in the council chamber, Frank Miller stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed human embassy on the council station. Through the wide windows, he watched ships from dozens of worlds moving through space, and among them, the distinctive silhouettes of Earth vessels, now welcome visitors rather than intruders. "Still hard to believe, isn't it?" Lisa Johnson said as she joined him at the window. "Full council membership. Access to all trade routes. Even Xarthol had to vote for it in the end." Miller smiled. He didn't have much choice after the public recordings went out. The council might control policy, but they can't control public opinion across 1,000 worlds. The broadcasts of human ships rescuing Arcturian civilians had spread throughout the galaxy. The sight of human medics treating alien children, of Earth soldiers carrying elderly Arcturians to safety, had changed perceptions more effectively than any diplomatic speech could have. "Admiral Miller, Admiral Johnson," a voice called. They turned to see Dr. Nancy Rodriguez approaching with a group of aliens following her, representatives from species neither had encountered before. "May I introduce the delegation from Proxima Centauri?" Rodriguez gestured to the visitors. "They're interested in our interspecies cooperation initiative." Miller greeted the aliens warmly. The initiative had been Rodriguez's idea, a program focused on cultural exchange and mutual defense, especially for younger spacefaring races that lacked council protection. In 3 months, 17 worlds had already joined. After the delegates departed, Miller checked his watch. Almost time for the council session. "And no emergency this time," Johnson said with a smile. "Just routine business." They made their way through the station to the council chamber. The space had changed in subtle but important ways. The tiered seating remained, but the central speaking platform had been replaced with a round table where representatives from 20 species sat together, all at the same level. Miller took his seat between the Arcturian ambassador and a representative from one of the non-council worlds that had allied with Earth. Where once he had stood alone and mocked, he now sat as an equal. Elder Xenva, who had replaced Xarthol after his resignation, called the session to order. The Draconian had a different approach than her predecessor, less dismissive, more willing to listen. "First on our agenda," she announced, "the proposal from Earth regarding interstellar medicine." Dr. Patricia Morgan, now head of Earth's medical exchange program, stepped forward. The scientist who had reverse-engineered alien propulsion systems had found her true passion in adapting human medical techniques for other species. Our immune response research has applications for at least 30 known species, Morgan explained, displaying molecular diagrams. The therapy we developed for radiation sickness among the Arcturians can be modified for use on any planet experiencing environmental contamination. As she spoke, Miller glanced around the chamber. He saw genuine interest where once there had been only contempt, not from everyone. Some of the older council members still regarded humans with suspicion, but progress rarely came all at once. Later that day, Miller visited the memorial that had been erected in the main concourse of the station. A simple wall of blue Arcturian crystal listed the names of all who had died during the Crawl attack, both Arcturians and the 7 humans who had given their lives in the rescue operation. A small Arcturian child approached, placing a flower at the base of the wall. She looked up at Miller, her large eyes curious. "Are you really from Earth?" she asked in careful standard language. "I am," Miller replied with a gentle smile. "My mother says Earth people saved us when no one else would," the child said solemnly. "She says humans look different but feel the same inside." Miller knelt to meet her eyes. "That's very true, and very wise." As the child ran back to her waiting parent, Miller felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Zelna, the Arcturian who had first spoken up for humanity years ago. "A new generation will grow up with a very different view of humans than the one I was taught," the Arcturian said. Miller nodded, watching as ships from Earth and a dozen other worlds docked at the station. That was all we ever wanted, not to be feared or even admired, just to be understood. "They mocked humanity in the Galactic Council," Zelna said quietly. "And your answer changed the galaxy forever."